a scion of many worlds. It turns out that it's more high humidity and rain that turns him on now. So just washing off the gunk and getting himself back to the stark, shimmering white of his fur was easy enough. There was the fun game of discovering an entire series of bruises and cramps as his time in the mirror had pushed him well and truly beyond anything his body had ever undergone before. If not for his upgrades, then the strain probably would have killed him. The water seemed to wash away both the filth that had been building up on his person and the small stresses and aggravations of the day-to-day. He hadn't let them do anything to him. The mission of contacting the Dauntless was too important. But it felt as if he was shucking a backpack full of rocks for all the weight it seemed to lift from him. So, the Earthani cleanliness is somewhere between biological and psychological, he asks himself as he steps out of the water and stretches. He had cleaned his clothing, cleaned his fur and claws, and reshaped the metal of his gauntlets into less nicked and banged-up defenses and more ornate and still effective tools of both offense and defense. He runs the Axiom over his body and gathers the water up to flick it into the diverted stream. It was actually rather clever. The kitchens were upstream, the dumping area downstream, and between where people took their water for food and medicine and where they dumped out the trash was the bathing area. Cool water, and you were responsible for warming it yourself or just letting it stay cold as Jasper had. He glances left and catches little hint of the grime and dirt that had been building on him. During most of the bathing, there had been a streak of deep brown so dark it was effectively black. How the hell he had gathered that much dust and dirt without it showing was a form of mundane magic all its own. Like when you brush a fluffy dog and end up with more shed fur than the dog had body mass, either before or after the brushing. He extracts the water from his outfit and then slips it all on. He'll need more clothing, both off and on duty. Proper armor, some real weapons with ranged options. His claws are powerful and brutal, but he'll need to take some people alive, and he's not sure if a bow can survive his pulling back on the string. Still, first things first. Get in contact with the Dauntless. Coming here was a long shot, but his only one. He had actually grilled Magrica a few times and inquired with the locals since first making his appointment 2 days ago. There were a lot of legends and stories about how they got here, but the points of agreement was that the technology was either entirely destroyed or lost somewhere. Most stories pointed to the deep ocean for that, a bit beyond his reach, and that's if, big if, the technology could somehow survive all this time. It had been at least several centuries since the crash of what he assumed to be a colony ship. Likely whatever bits were still around were either priceless relics gathering dust or being worshipped, or had been salvaged for scrap metal in some way. He runs his claws over the longer hair on his head and brushes it all back and out of the way. His antennae pop out and angle forward. They had been growing ever since he had started altering himself to get closer to human endurance and ability. Something to consider. But later, almost everything is later than him actually getting the undaunted to him. He doesn't like working alone and with no idea where or if backup is coming. Not to mention he needs to know if the better idea is to upend the world and look to unify it by force, or if he should just keep his head down and wait for rescue. He steps out of the small room with its little isolated part of the river. It was strange. They split it and fed it into this area, then merged them back together to be the sluice that takes the dirt and grime away. Primitive, but smartly put together. His claws make a clacking sound as he moves around and pauses as he senses a Nagasha approaching from another hallway. She makes no noise and is well out of sight with solid wall between him and her, but she is there and he flutters out to wings a bit before using a trace of Axiom to blunt the impact of his claws onto the stone floor. There's an EEP of surprise from the Nagasha as he turns the corner. It's Sister Bellwether. Clearly his silent approach had startled her. Is something wrong? He teases her and she frowns before letting out an annoyed huff. I was coming to tell you that the council is ready to meet you and to hurry up. Anyways, just follow me, she says, twisting around him and then heading back where she came. It is and isn't an attempted power move. Her tail is so long that she needs the room to move around unless she wants to strain herself. So is there anything I should know before meeting them? Proper forms of address? Personal issues not to bring up? Gestures that are regarded as a threat or insult and should be avoided, Jasper asks, and she just gives him an odd look. The council is made up of our wisest and most accomplished. If you manage to insult them, that will be a minor feat in itself. Good, it will be nice to deal with people in power who want to talk. So, the grand midwives don't want to talk? I woke up in a crystal coffin in one of their temples, a balcony that was quickly and shabbily built over with scrap wood. I fled as I was lost, confused and upset, and then they sent warriors to grab me, and when I asked for time to speak to the council here first and then speak to the grand midwives, they became hostile and angry. They chose violence, not me. Although you're certainly not shy in returning the violence. Of course not, I'm a soldier. I was trained for it. I had the hesitation beaten out of me in grueling training. I've spoken to Magrica. You didn't go through the training, your brother did. Sister Bellwether returns and Jasper huffs in amusement. Hence why I'm training so hard. I have a standard that I'm trying to hold myself to, and pushing myself is how I get there. Jasper returns and she gives him an odd look. No pride? No trying to justify that you have the memories and therefore are the same? I'm not even the same species. I can barely use these blunt, crude monstrosities I have instead of proper fingers. When I get back among other undaunted, I'm going to need a custom gun. I'm going to need a costume, everything. My body doesn't even have the same color blood. My brother bleeds red. I bleed blue and green. I'm not the same person that went through that training. This body has never crawled through mud beneath barbed wire. It's never climbed up a wall with a heavy pack of gear or gone through hours upon hours of rifle training. I have not marched in formation. I did not fight until I felt myself start to crack in body and mind. I am not Horace Blue. Sister Bellwether is silent as she continues to lead him forward. I am Jasper Blue. I am someone new, someone different. I've got a lot of work to do if I'm going to be able to look my brother in the eye, much less stand by his side. Jasper admits, and she nods, and the walk descends into silence. She leads him towards what seems like a side room not far away from what Jasper's antennae are telling him is a nearby library. There are 11 people in the chamber. Magrica and his recruits, Lena, Jane, Erica, Millie, Aqua, and Ariel, as well as 4 strangers. Sister Bellwether opens the door and the conversation in the room spills out. I'm just saying, pants are overrated. Just go in with your bottom half bared and there's no way to tangle your legs up. One of the girls states, and Magrica moans. Never give up armor if you can get it. There's no part of your body that doesn't have something important in it. Even the tip of a finger can open you up to sickness. Magrica counters. You say that to them when you've been running about in little more than bindings and a loincloth. You're barely dressed at the best of times, let alone armored. I've got the skin hardening technique down to reflex on top of my wings, which are both sword and shield. Also, it's because I have yet to be able to replace my armor. I lost my last set not long ago, Magrica says before pausing and looking. There you are. Hey, what's with the shimmer in your fur? Afraid you'd look too scruffy for these girls? I appreciate the consideration, but it wasn't needed. He's Orthani. I doubt he'd be thinking straight without being clean, Sister Bellwether says, slithering in. Everyone sitting around on comfortable-looking cushions with small baskets full of one kind of food or snack or another. Buns, fruits of all sorts, sausages and some cheeses with little bundles of nuts and several dips all over the place with numerous pitchers of water all over the place. Jasper Blue, meet the council, the masters of each field. Each of them have undergone the final trial. So, they've gone through their own dark mirror? I'm honored then. It was no easy thing to survive that hell. I needed to do what I thought I couldn't and push beyond to survive. Jasper says, moving into a graceful bow and rising up. All four of the strangers are regarding him curiously. They're a pair of Arumenta, some kind of squirrel woman he's not familiar with, and some kind of catty rabbit woman or rabbit cat woman. Either way, she has glowing markings in her fur. They're wearing what seem to be robes of office in dark blue with small crystals woven into them to simulate the night sky. Not quite the dark mirror. Our own tests are less lethal than the martial one, which leads to the question of what do we do with you? You've passed the final test, and that's the only real mark for applying to the council, but the martial branch has been... The Air Arumenta counselor with pale skin and ever-blowing cloud-like hair begins only for the Squirrel Woman to wave her tail into her face. Blah, 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 blah. Enough from our navel-gazing healer. We need to know exactly what this warrior is here for, the squirrel says, and Jasper shrugs. I'm a copy of someone else. Their mind was placed in this body, and I need to use that connection to talk to them. I want to be among my own people, and I'm not talking about the Earthani, Jasper says. So what we've got is a strangely put-together Earthani with strange memories, strange ideas, and enough skill in a fight to pass the trial of the dark mirror. The Squirrel Woman states, standing up from her cushion, and Jasper shrugs. Which is strange. Yes. What do you want exactly? I was directed here by the elder of Thorax Village. If there's going to be an easy and straightforward solution to my need to contact my own people, it will be with you, a collection of scholars, teachers, and more that have their eyes on the stars, Jasper says, and the Squirrel Woman leans forward with narrowed eyes. Really? So, how do you think it can happen? You think you can just... She makes a strange, wavy gesture with her hands. And you can talk to someone from beyond this world? I don't know. That's why I've come here looking for answers. But if there are answers to be had, then it will be with the people that dedicate their lives to finding them. Well, I like him, the Squirrel Woman notes, and Jasper just blinks. Oh, right. Names. I'm Ivy, Master of Scholars. The Foza here is Mika, Master of Education. Our Arumenta are Lynette, Master of Healers, and Anne, Master of Agriculture. And your species? I've not met one of your kind before, Jasper asks, and she smiles. I'm a Lyrak. I hope that you weren't the first Earthani you met when you woke up as one, she remarks, and Jasper grins. Oh my goddess, you were. It's been a hell of a thing to learn about. The very fact that I need to use a weird tongue, hose, spear thing to eat really well is weird, he remarks before sticking out his proboscis before drawing it back in. Still, it will lead to all sorts of fun conversations back with the rest of the Undaunted. Also, my unchanged brother Horace. He has a habit of mixing the most absurd drinks possible for his own entertainment, most of which would be a deadly poison to other races. Hell, most of them are so potent that having more than a small number of drinks would see anyone dead. And that's fine? Is it some kind of alcohol? Hyper-concentrated and really powerful compared to those other races use. Compared to other races, humans can drink what amounts to straight-up poison. It's going to be something I miss, but punch kicks so hard that to a human used to the stuff it feels like you took a hammer to the head. Punch? A punch is a mix of drinks. A punch is one with enough alcohol content to feel like you've been physically attacked, Jasper says before chuckling. But we're off topic. Is there a way to contact someone that I have the memories of? A sibling, not of blood, but of soul? Oh yes. I have used memories of people to predict where they are, but it's only been on world. What would it take to get this done? Jasper asks, and Ivy looks from his pendant up to him, then grins widely with her buck teeth showing. An agreement from you. Service for service, you understand. I'm guessing from the glance you need something fought off or killed? Yes, Your 6 recruits here are part of a larger bandit clan that have been attacking people coming to our valley for trade, learning, healing, or knowledge. They need protection, and you've turned 6 of the bandits into warriors that follow you. That's exactly what we need. I'm able and willing to help you, even without the rest of the council behind me. But I need your oath that you will help us. I am undaunted. I am a soldier and servant of my people. The oath may have been sworn by Horus, but it binds me as well. I am Jasper Blue of the Undaunted, possibly a sergeant, but undoubtedly a soldier. You have asked for the aid of the Undaunted. As the highest-ranking member of my organization on this world, I agree. Just like that? Lynette asks curiously, and Jasper shrugs. No amount of dancing around will get me what I want, and what you want is something I'm inclined to do anyways. There's no reason for me to say no, Jasper says, and Anne smiles. And what about training volunteers like you have these women? She asks, and Jasper nods. All right then, so, you think you've got a link to someone? Ivy cuts herself off, gesturing up and beyond. Way out there on some world called Centris, right? Magrica's quite the talker when she starts eating. I'm aware. Good. So I'm going to focus on the links in you. Soul first, but blood might leak in. It's a powerful thing after all. Ivy offers as she saunters up to him and paces around him. What if this doesn't work? What then? Then while I work at helping the valley defend itself and keeping it safe, I go through your books and scrolls to see if there's another way to contact the Dauntless. If there isn't something here, then I'll try to figure out some way to do it anyways. There is a way. If it's not known, then I'll have to make it. He asserts, and Ivy pats him on the shoulder. Good, very good. Now don't squirm, she says before putting her hands on either side of his head. Think of your brother. Remember how it felt when you were him. Remember him, how he lived. The more you think, the closer your mind is to him, the closer I can bring you both. The Axiom begins swirling and moving as Jasper considers the impish joy in mixing absurd drinks. The iron-clad will forged into him as he trained. The feel of weapons, boot leather, and all sorts of gear under his hands, the sensations of his fingers and the slight creases that always showed up in his uniform, how he always kept his hair cropped really short because he could never be bothered to clean the overly curly mess, and what the? Is that? Are you the double? An achingly familiar voice that had never before been heard on Lacron sounds out. It's Horus. Just like this, it's been done. Axiom is pure bullshit, but it's working. It's done. Somehow, this brilliant squirrel has done it. I've gotten help from local scholars to do this. I'm on a world called Lacrinit. Hold the link tight. There's no time to explain. Just hold the link and don't let it break. I've trained for this. Horus orders, and Jasper puts his hands on Ivy's shoulders to hold her still if he has to. Confirmed. Be ready to receive. I've got a package coming through, Horus says. Jasper can't help but notice that his old voice sounds even deeper than he remembers. It's still clearly him, though. It's just kind of annoying how he started considering this higher, pitched, trilling thing as his own voice. You what? I've been trained to teleport objects over a ridiculous distance for this. Hold your hands out in front of you and be ready to catch. Horus tells Jasper, and he does so. How long did this take? Jasper asks as several things begin to dawn on him. Shut up and let me concentrate. Horus snaps. Then there's a humming sound, a feeling of exertion, and something is happening with the Axiom. Something is gathering and coalescing, and all the power is being drawn to a spot between Ivy and Jasper. He holds out his claws just under it to catch whatever's happening, and then in a single moment almost all the Axiom leaves the room and both he and Ivy collapse. He falls to his knee as something lands in his claws, and she swings down and thankfully falls on a pillow. What the hell was that? Magrica mutters softly as she struggles to keep her eyes open in an area almost entirely stripped of Axiom. What's in Jasper's claws is chrome box with a clip, a dial, a speaker, and a button. With the Axiom drained, Jasper's thought processes are outright slowed and it takes him a moment to put it together. He presses the button. This is Jasper Blue, mental clone of Sergeant Horace Blue of the Undaunted. Do you read? Sergeant Blue, we read you. A new voice says from the other side, and Jasper smiles widely. Confirm that the beacon is intact. Is there any visible damage? He looks over the entire thing. None I can see, but my training did not include galactic range walkie-talkies and homing beacons. We're improvising. If there's no visible damage on the outside and the communication line is working, then we can track you. The same signal we're picking up is what we'll be homing in on. Where are you, soldier? The world is called Lacrin. From what I've been able to decipher, an accident in a colony vessel shattered their technological base, and they've either been trapped at or recently reached the Iron Age, an area possible edging in on the Renaissance. I've seen evidence of large societies of learning and have even allied myself with one, but the most advanced weapons I've encountered are crossbows. Your physical status? The planet's status. Your plans. My status is physically fine, but adjusting. I've been placed in the body of a race known as the Earthani. Think moth people with timid attitudes. I've surprised just about everyone with my willingness to use violence. I've been adjusting and training to get back up to dauntless standards, but I have a lot of work to do. Jasper admits, and there's a sound that he recognizes as typing from the other side. He gives it a minute to peter out. The political situation on this world is a powder keg. One of the major powers has been tramping down on war by levering the fact that their help is needed for any form of reproduction. There are no males on the world, so the grand midwives are required for there to be a next generation. The problem is that all it's done is turned small arguments and border issues into massive fucking problems just waiting to happen. My current location is in the midst of a series of 4 countries that, if this shit was happening on Earth, there would already be open war. These grand midwives, are they a threat? Yes, they recognize me as a male and believe that I will cause their delicate house of cards to come crashing down. They're not entirely wrong, but I'm more the straw that broke the camel's back in this scenario. This world needs help above all else. It's very much at the cusp of self-destruction, if not for several benign parties trying to keep things together. Unfortunately, one of them has decided I need to be contained and if not killed. I got into a life or death fight because I wanted to talk to the people that I'm in this room with first. Understood. As our eyes on the ground in Lacran, what is your opinion? What should be done going forward? The communications officer on the other end asks, and Jasper glances around the room. They're all staring at him, stunned that he's actually everything he said he was, no doubt. I consider this a rescue operation. We're a few hundred, if not thousands of years behind schedule, but damn it, these people need help. They live short, desperate lives of ignorance and loss, and we can help them. Not to mention a lot of them would make amazing Undaunted. I've been aided by a local champion called Magrika the Massive. Her entire society is based off of physical excellence and self-betterment. They would make amazing soldiers if they'd be willing to take orders, and if not, then they'd still be very good friends to have. The Star Seeker Society is so outright benign that their 4 main branches are doctors, teachers, scholars, and farmers. These are good people and they deserve a chance. Very good, Sergeant Blue. One last question. Go ahead, Control. How long have you been aware and active? 8 days in total. How long has it been since Horace was sent in for the healing coma? 6 months, 2 days. We've had time to prepare an answer to this. 6 months? What have I missed? What's happened? The situations was always moving fast and, Sergeant Blue, calm down. First, let's sort out the mess you're in before we move on to every other thing that's happened. Control barks out and Jasper takes a deep breath. You're right. Are there any orders for me? Stay alive and pay attention. Beyond that, we're putting you on loose leash protocols by sheer necessity. Do your best, soldier. It's all anyone can ask of you. Confirmed. What about my own status? We were waiting to either rename you or hear your new name to fill out the last bits of paperwork. Your rank and standing is equal to your brother's at the time he entered the healing coma. You will, however, be tested psychologically, physically, and practically to ensure that you're up to the standards of a dauntless sergeant. Understood? Sir, yes, sir. Good soldier. Keep the beacon near you at all times and protect it. Do not be afraid to use it for clarification or even just to speak with someone. If you need it, we can get a psychiatrist on the horn here with you. Hold fast, soldier, we're coming. She typed at a keyboard. The pale green hologram as the data fills itself out is a scant comfort. Her evening being interrupted by that Axiom message. It had winged right by her and she had outright observed the transference. It was an elegant and brilliant solution. Effective and almost understated, if not for the sheer strain that it had put on the Axiom fields. The world was about to be lost. It had been an interesting subject to observe. A lost colony regressed to primitivism with several major factors of societal development being either absent due to circumstance or outright suppressed. Truly fascinating. Of course, a system like that is inherently unstable and there is not only no value, but no point in trying to suppress it. However, was throwing her latest test subject into this observed area really the best course of action? It had been both excruciating and an unimaginable relief to jettison the body at long last. She still found herself occasionally wandering to the laboratory that once held the thing. It was illogical and irrational, but she still found herself there time to time and was unable to truly describe what was within her. A sensation of loss and yet anticipation. The mixture was truly baffling and without proper explanation. She shakes her head and clears her mind as she types out further commands to her crew and researchers. The observation posts on the world will need to be double-checked. The Undaunted are not the most technologically advanced organization in the galaxy, but they've proven themselves resourceful and capable of lateral thinking. It would be best not to be caught unprepared.